Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome to episode 20.
20, that's
The
a,
Spice Squadron podcast.
that's a 2 and a 0.
2-0.
Pretty nice way to cap off the year, though, on episode 20.
Episode 20. It was planned from the beginning.
Yeah, the very inception, or should I say conception, of the Spice Squadron.
Technically, this comes out on the 1st.
Oh, it does too. Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
That's actually what the episode is about. We're going to be talking about the New Year.
Yeah, I'm going to be talking about the New Year. Perfect timing, actually.
It is. This is going to be a more channel-focused episode. Less about what's to come for the game and more about what's to come from us.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about the new spoilers that have come out. Some very cool cards that have come out for that.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about kind of the year in review. We're working out like what we think of the year so far: the good, the bad, the pretty, the ugly,
The galactic ambition.
the galactic ambition. And then we're going to talk about where this channel is going to be going into the future and what we're going to be doing as we move into 2024 and the actual release of Star Wars Unlimited.
This might be a bit of a shorter episode just because there's not too much to cover. And it's the new year, so we want to get to partying. We don't party, we just play Star Wars Unlimited. But speaking of just playing Star Wars Unlimited, our first spoiler, boy howdy were we right?
Oh boy, were we right.
Yeah, for those out there who might say, hey, they knew. We legitimately didn't.
Yeah.
We've been given a spoiler card before. We legitimately had no idea that this was going to be the leader, and we were just joking around, but my God, were we spot on?
Cassian Andor. Red hero leader.
He's our red hero. He's everything I think I want from a mid-range red deck.
Yeah, it's certainly interesting. There's a lot of kind of, not discourse, but disagreement on how good Cassian is.
I think Cassian's awesome. I think he's a super duper solid mid-range and even control red deck. I think he's great.
I think one of the problems is a lot of people are playing him that straight aggro.
Yeah,
which I think takes away from him a little bit. But I can also understand where people are coming from when they're saying he's not great.
Yeah, I think I actually think people are making really. I think again we've seen this a couple of times where a card will come out and even us will make really blanket judgments on it. But it's just the nature of the card game. I do think people are underestimating Cassian quite a bit. But let's get to it. He's a red hero. His ability on his front side is pay 1 action, exhaust him. If you have dealt 3 or more damage to a base this phase, draw a card.
It's very simple, very very red. You've dealt damage, draw a card.
Yeah, we know that it's thing. A couple of cards that synergize really nicely with this. For a cause I believe in. K2SO, Cassian's counterpart. We talked about that. Hey, that's the reason we brought him up, or the reason I mentioned that's what my theory was, is because of that. And lo and behold, he works really well with him. A 4/4 for Overwhelm that also on death deals that 3 damage to draw you that card. I believe Cassian deploys at 6.
Cassian does deploy at 6. He is a 4/6, like very common.
Flip at 6 stat line.
Yeah, flip at 6 stat line, especially for hero.
He's got Saboteur.
Yeah,
that's awesome on a leader.
Yeah, very interesting to have a leader, and kind of works well with his ability as well, which is if you've dealt 3 or more damage. I
believe it's when you deal 3 or more damage to a base, you draw a card, and then that triggers once per round. So
swing him at the base, deal 4 damage to the base, draw a card.
Swing something else at the base, deal 3 damage to the base. 4 calls I believe in. Check that out. 3 damage to the base, draw a card.
3 damage to the base, stack your deck, draw a card.
That's pretty good.
That's very good. And it brings us to the discussion of hand advantage, which is a very interesting discussion that's been going on since Star Wars Unlimited first came out. And I think from the very beginning, from I Am Your Father.
Yeah.
Was probably the first thing that probably sparked this debate.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of talk that in SWU you do not need much card draw, which is understandable. You draw 2 cards to start each turn, and yeah, you usually resource 1, but when you don't, you can also not, so you can keep both of those cards. And there's no intrinsic value of a larger hand. So, and then some other card games you might find being able to do certain things with just cards in your hand, just as cards in your hand. Very simple, like if you take Dragon Ball, for instance, that we played a lot.
Comboing cards to increase power of other cards.
Or something like that. This game doesn't have anything like that. The closest we have, I think, is Bamboozle, which is a card that isn't really run very often.
Bamboozle! Bah!
But yeah, so it's a very interesting thing, the kind of way up of having more options of having more cards in hand versus kind of what's going, like having less options but having a more impactful ability.
I always thought that this was a really odd debate because I'm firmly on the side of give yourself more options, the more cards you have, the better, especially because we're seeing discard mechanics coming into the game and things like that. I've played this game enough, and I know that you guys have played this game enough to know at least, even if it's deep down, that you've been in a situation where you've gone, man, I wish I could just draw a card to get an option. You can draw 2 cards a turn, but that's at the end of the turn after everything's already happened. Being able to draw a card in the middle of the turn could save you. Being able to draw a card to get cards for later turns could save you. I think that card draw is heavily overlooked in this game, and I definitely think there will be people that just get beaten out by a Cassian red mid-range deck because they're sitting there going, his ability sucks, and then every turn Cassian's going to be drawing, and every turn Cassian's going to have an answer, and you're going to be sitting there with 3 cards to his 7 and going, how come all my stuff keeps dying? How come he's still got gas?
Yeah, I think it's being, like, at the moment it's currently being compared to things like Luke and Vader, which are very generic one-cost abilities, and is seen as kind of the worst of those kind of, and Tarkin, like, for instance, and seen as kind of like, it's not as, like, if it was just tap him, tap one, draw a card, it would be quite good, but as it is with having to get the damage and all that, it is generally seen as a worse ability, which I can understand.
I think people are making really odd judgments because they've not cracked the deck, they've not played the deck, and people are just saying, oh, well, this is a worse ability than Vader. And I love Vader. It's literally my pet deck. And I can tell you when I look at Cassian, I go, man, this has some potential to be really, really good. I think people are just looking at it the wrong way because right now everyone's like, if it ain't aggro Sabine, it ain't good.
Yeah, I think that's fairly valid to see. And like another red leader comes along, it's immediately going to be compared to Sabine in that same sort of way, which it just kind of can't be.
It's not. I think the way to look at Cassian, he is not an aggro leader. He can be, but he is not. Cassian to me is a control mid-range leader who utilizes early game swingers and control ping damage to kill your opponent's board with cards like another one we're talking about in a bit, Zeb. To clear your opponent's board, I actually think Cassian works really good with green because you can ambush in K2SOs, you can ambush in Zebs, you can ambush in other cards to start killing things. You really want to just get up on that value, and then you want to slowly get your opponent in by just going, control your board, 3 damage, control your board, 3 damage, control your board, 3 damage, drawing cards, fueling that control, fueling that mid-range, and snowballing into what eventually just amounts to, hey, you have no options and you've got 3 health left.
Yeah, absolutely. I can understand how that can be kind of tough at the moment, especially when a lot of the control side of red is in villain.
Yeah,
in that
really
like
is.
kind of force choke, mainly force choke, but
we've still got a lot of red to come though, which I think is the important. Like a lot of generic red to come.
Yeah, still a lot of generic red to come. I think it's going to be really interesting to see where Cassian falls. Every time I've played him, I found it is quite awkward to play. I'm not going to say I'm an expert on the matter at all, but I definitely see where people are coming from when it's a little bit of an awkward ability that sometimes can just feel like something that you're spending resources on, you could just be spending on better things.
See, I like it because I'm playing a lot of low undercurve bodies with my green Cassian that I'm just like, cool, turn 1 Battlefield Marine, turn 2 Battlefield Marine, draw a card. And I'm like going wide, I'm controlling the board. I think it's just a matter of perspective and how that deck works. And I think it's all about when we're going to crack that deck. Because there's a lot of leaders right now that feel like that. You know, you get your Idens, Krennics, all that kind of stuff. We're really like hammering
And
home.
Chewbacca is really
how
heavily
to-
in that
yeah,
thing of
yeah.
like people
How do we crack
discount a lot,
this
but it
Luna?
just hasn't been cracked yet.
I give Cassian a 4.5 out of 5. I actually think he is that good. I could be super duper wrong, but I think that man has a lot of potential. I don't think he's an aggro deck. Let me tell you that right now. I think Cassian is a mid-range deck. I just think he has potential to be that good. I'm not saying that he's going to be the best deck in the format. I'm not going to say he even beats out Sabine. But I will say that I think Cassian's pretty solid. I think you guys are underrating him.
Fair enough. We're going to move on to 2 spoilers that were dropped not long ago. The first one talked about just before. Zeb.
Gareth Zeb Aurelios. He's a Spectre!
He is a Spectre, another slot into the Hera deck. It's just getting better every single time we see these amazing Spectres coming through.
I love Spectres.
That mono green Hera is really looking like
this
something
card
that is...
is a prime conversion lab target.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is a aggression, heroism, 5/5.
5 cost, 5/5 for 5.
5 cost 5/5 for 5. And his ability is...
when he defeats a unit, you may deal 4 damage to an opponent. So when he completes an attack after he defeats a unit, you may deal 4 damage to your opponent's ground unit, one of your opponent's ground units. That's awesome.
Yeah, very cool. It's essentially, especially if he's coming down with that conversion lab,
With the
you're
ambush?
usually 2 for 1-ing.
Oh, yeah. And then
And-
they've got to deal with the 5 attack Zeb on board. Most cases, they're going to swing something into it or use a removal on him. And that's cool with you because, hey, Zeb's done his job.
Yeah.
He's come in. He's killed 2 things. If he lives, it's 5 damage at your base. If he doesn't, you've wasted removal or another swing on him, which essentially means for 1 action and 5 resources, you've 3 for 1.
Yeah, absolutely. There is the other side of the argument, though, yes, he's incredible with Conversion Lab, but he is a 5-cost body that has no...
He's clunky without it.
Yeah, he has no on-arrival value.
None of the Spectres currently do.
True.
None of the Spectres have an on-play effect, and all of the Spectres have an on-attack or when attack completed effect. So that's a bit of interesting for you, which is why Conversion Lab made cards like Kanan shine, Zeb shine. And one thing I think to note is that with a well-placed Conversion Lab in your Hera deck, you've got some great options. And all of the Spectres are great options to the point where if I'm playing a Kanan and you remove him and my follow-up turn is Zeb and you've used your removal, what now? So I actually think Zeb's really good. I think he's great as well because he's a rebel. That's pretty sweet. He's a Spectre. The best keywords in the game. I love the art.
You said, I want to give a compilation of all the times you said something is the best keyword in the game. Because you've said it, I think, to Rebel, Trooper, Force, and Spectre now.
And Imperial.
Just add all of them.
I said Imperial's like the 2nd best keyword in the game.
Just say vehicles are the best keyword in the game. You will hit them all.
They aren't. They are awful.
Can't wait to the vehicle deck to be super
Oh,
meta.
it's going to be so good. We're already seeing a red, yellow, Han vehicle deck that's that uses outmaneuver. That like outmaneuver really works good in that deck. So with Zeb, I give this guy, I think he sits where Kanan sits. I think I've actually personally bumped Kanan up a little bit more on my radar from where he was as a 2.5.
Yeah.
I think they sit at 3 now thanks to Iadu Conversion Complex.
Yeah.
That could potentially go up depending on what other Spectre support we get. But that is all a matter of what other support we get. Our last episode was about wish lists, and you asked for more ground vehicles.
I did.
And we got a new ground vehicle.
We absolutely did.
It is Rogue Squadron Snowspeeder.
It is a 6-cost 4/6.
It is. It is a rebel vehicle.
It is ambush.
Do you remember its when played?
I don't.
When played, you may return a unit with cost 2 or less from your discard pile to your hand.
Yeah.
We saw this base effect, precursor to this, on the card command. We saw that this was one of the things that the color does. Now we have that as proof. This card is interesting. This card is interesting at a cost of 6.
Yeah, I think we're really starting to see these
The more late game cards.
Yeah, and these big ambush cards are really coming in hot and heavy. Like,
It's a more
running-
survivable Callus, kind of.
yeah, I'm like, like in the Thrawn deck that I was playing last week, I was running 3 Callus, 3 Bosk.
That felt,
And-
and that was good. Like, that
Yeah.
felt bad to play against. It was rough.
So these kind of very, like, a lot of
Like,
ambushes.
Hero kind of getting that on the flip side
Yeah,
is
as well.
interesting to see.
So I think this is a card that's going to be really interesting. I think it's going to be very interesting to see where these kind of, because the snow speeder is also kind of in that kind of strange position where it feels a little bit overcosted for what it does.
Yeah.
But also, there's been times when I've played it and it's just done so well.
much. This card's a bit odd to me because while I look at it, I'm like, man, you like play it, get your A-wing back, get your 2 tubes back. Like, it
Yeah.
doesn't specify anything other than cost of 2 unit. But then I'm like, cost 6.
I think it's one of those cases where if the board is right, you can spend
Swing
6
the
on
game.
this and clear
Swing,
off their
yeah.
last thing and get a lot of value off it. But if the board isn't in your favor, you're going to draw this and you go, fuck, and put it in your resources.
I actually don't mind this in Green Ramp Chewie,
Mm-hmm.
Ramp Luke,
Yep.
and even mid-range Leia.
Yeah, I don't mind this in even Mono Hera because it does
Yeah.
need better units.
You can get
to
Sabine.
kind of
You can get your Sabine units back. Potentially your choppers, depending on how much they cost. My theory is choppers going to be a 1 or 2 cost.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
But I think, yeah, like I look at this card and I'm like, my initial thoughts were like, whoa, and then I went, 6, and then I started thinking about what decks this belongs in, and I'm like, okay, in a ramp strategy, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Because you can play this, you can use Luke's ability to put a shield on it, you can flip your Luke leader, swing and put another shield on it, you can do that, and in that same turn you can get back your regional governor to name another card so they can't play it. In Chewie, you can do that to go get a card that they can't, that you can then, like, you know, play as a Sentinel again. In mid-range Leia, there are plenty of options you can use. You can get your X-Wings, you can get your a Defiant Princess to tap things down, you can get your 3POs back for your draw, there's a Battlefield Marines back. There's a lot of good options for this, and most of the time, it's killing something, it's drawing you a card. It's pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is definitely a card that is going to get overlooked easily because of that 6 cost. But I think it's something that is definitely a good tool
got
in a
value.
lot of these decks.
Yeah, it's got
And in the
value for it.
right, because it's one of those cases where I say in the right situation, but that situation does come up fairly often in these decks.
I run it in Cassian.
That it can get you a lot of value, and anything of that higher cost that has that immediate effect, unlike Zeb, like has that on card effect rather than having to use something else to give it value, can't be understated in how much it can really impact what's going on. When you're when you're having trouble keeping a board, having something that comes along and does something immediately is so high and so valuable, especially against something like Boba Fett, the mono cunning Boba Fett that is seen as really good at the moment. It is really powerful because it stops them being able to be like, everything you play, I'm tapping down. It's like, I've already tapped it myself.
Yeah,
Like, I'm already...
There's nothing you do. I think it's really interesting because I think with this card and a few others, we've seen the cutoff as to where units don't get when plays commonly and when units do get when played commonly. It seems that units that are 5 or less don't often have a when play effect. But units that are 6 or more do have a when play effect, because I think it's that kind of thing where that resource investment needs an immediate gain.
Yeah.
Especially in an action for action game where it's like this card isn't an investment because removal is like a huge part of this game, especially in set 1. I reckon that the set 1 meta is just going to be either the balls to the wall aggro or the removal game.
Yeah, and it's exactly the reason why we see Devastator being played in quite a lot of ramp decks, and Chimera not. Because Chimera provides
do anything.
no value the turn it is played, whereas
Devastator.
Devastator comes in, it's like, what's your biggest thing? Because I'm probably killing it.
I'm killing it. Yeah. I give this card a 3.5 out of 5. I think it's pretty good. I think it's an interesting card, and I think it will definitely be underrated.
Christmas time.
My wish list had Vader Legendary on it. I had a red Vader Legendary on it. I did not account for a green Vader Legendary.
No, we have the Darth Vader Legendary.
I'm
the
so
art
happy with
is
it, though.
beautiful.
It's the art I wanted.
It is the
art
art
I
you wanted.
It's awesome. This card slaps. This is Darth Vader commanding the First Legion.
Yeah, it's that art that we see on the playmats of him like bursting into
I love
Echo
it.
Base with all the troopers
love
coming in
that.
behind him.
So
He is a
cool.
7 cost
Same as Luke.
green villain command villainy Sith Imperial
Force.
Force.
He is a 5/7.
He's 5/7 with ambush.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Holy moly. Holy crap. And when played, look at the top 10 cards of your deck. You may play a villain. Is it villain unit?
Villain unit.
Villain unit. You may play any number of villain units that total play cost add up to 3 or less.
Yep. You can play a Viper Probe Droid and an ISB agent.
You can play a Viper Probe Droid and a Death Star Stormtrooper. You can play 3 Death Star
You can
Stormtroopers.
play. Imagine some of those 3 Death Star
Star
Stormtroopers.
Stormtroopers.
I'd scoop.
I'd be like, oh boy. This card, I'm just going to say it, slaps in Vader Troopers.
Really, really
This
good.
is awesome. You can get Tajas out. You can get Del Micos out with this. For this week, I'm playing green, blue Iden. I really hope I get to play Vader. I really hope I get to rip a Del Mico off of it. There are just so many cards. And it doesn't specify ground unit, I don't believe, so you can get space units.
You can absolutely get space units. It's just a villainy unit. Now, one of the biggest things, a lot of debate about what happens to those 10 cards. It has been confirmed by FFG, I believe, that it is shuffled and placed on the bottom. There's a lot of people saying that you shuffled back into your deck.
Yeah.
The general thing on search is you take those cards, you
Randomly
shuffle
shuffle
them,
them,
and you put them at the bottom. And I get that there's some people that still don't like that mechanic. They still think those cards, like, oh, what if I hit the card that I desperately need and I have to put it at the bottom? It's not worth it.
Meh.
This ability is worth it. It's so worth it. Like,
If you were in a bad situation anyway, where you were needing to look for cards to get out of that situation, then missing the card you wanted to hit from using a searcher, you were in a bad position anyway, and more than likely the time it would have taken you to get to that card by using your searcher, you would have lost the game.
yeah.
Playing this card and getting a 2-for-1, playing this card, killing something, getting a body out, and flipping your Vader leader in the same turn.
Yeah, it's this card is very, very, very good, and its ability is very, very, very good. And I think this is going to be, like, I have to say that this is probably going to be the most sought after legendary, if not because it's an incredible in any villain green deck.
Hey James, what's a really good? There's another legendary that's really good, isn't there? Boba Fett Disintegrator. Can you remind me how much he costs?
He costs 3.
Is he a villain?
He is a villain.
Oh, so what you're telling me is if I'm playing Ramp Thrawn and I ramp to 7 really quickly and decide to play this guy and top 7 and, I don't know, rip my Boba Fett Disintegrator?
Chuck it down.
Seems pretty good to me.
Seems very good to me.
Seems 5 out of 5 on the Spiceometer good to me.
That is fair enough.
It's honestly, I look at this card, I remember I woke up and you had texted me on Christmas and you were like, dude, you need to look at this. And I looked at it and I was like, is this as broken as I think it is? And you were like, yeah, it is.
And I think one of the, like, I don't know, it's one of those weird things where you look at this card and you're like, is this the best card I've ever seen in my life? No. But is it just exactly what I want it to be?
Yes.
Yes. Like, it's one of those weird things where I feel like this card is not going to be on anyone's ban list, but it's going to be in everyone's deck.
Oh yeah, it's going to be one of those cards where it's going to be one of those cards where it won't be on a ban list, and I agree, but there will be groaning choirs of turn 7 Vader, and your opponent goes, you betcha, and they slam down that big man. Here he is. This is awesome. This is a card that I personally, I know a lot of people are concerned about the cost of legendaries, and I have been on the boat of, they're probably not going to be that much generally, but there are a few that will be. And I've always said that. And I think so far, my main thoughts were Falcon and Boba were definitely going to be up there. The rest of them are pretty great. The rest of them are pretty great, but I think like Boba and Falcon will probably hit the $30 to $50 Oz range. Vader joins them. Vader joins them in my prediction of that. This card is incredible. This card looks incredible. This card feels incredible to play. This complements any ramp deck, any green villain deck, any trooper deck. This is just one of those cards where you get to turn 7 and you're like, I'm going to kill that, I'm going to get a threat, and I'm going to get another threat. And you just have to watch me do it. And that takes one action.
Pulling out a Death Star Stormtrooper and a Taj off this Invader Troopers slaps. Like, it's just something that is so good and like is going to be able to really turn the game.
You can even rip a cell block card off this and just be like, cool, you have to attack it.
Yeah, pull out the Sentinel. Yeah, this card is exactly what I wanted from a legendary.
If you run it binds all things, when it ambushes and kills something, you can binds all things to heal it and kill something else. Like, it's there is just, I look at this card and I'm like, there is just so much going on with this and all of it is good.
Someone's going to pull a hyperspace foil version of this card.
Please let it be me.
And it's like, that's going to be a rare thing to find. It's going to be a beautiful thing to find. You open that in a pack and you're like, oh.
Sleeve it. Please, if you're watching this, if the future you has pulled this card, please, for the love of God, sleeve it. Or tweet at me and show me that you haven't sleeved it and just prepare for my rage. 5 out of 5. Like a hard, easy 5 out of 5 for me. I see this card and I'm like, my God, this is good. It only gets better. Every set that comes out that we get villain cards, which from what I understand, James, is every single set.
Every single set for all eternity.
There will just like you will just see decks that are just like cool, I'm blah 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 blah, and my 2 Vaders.
Yeah,
because I'm a villain separatist deck, but I've got my 2 Vaders in there because it's pay 7, kill something, play something. Why would I not run it?
Because my 3-cost green droidicas.
You wait.
Come in with shielded, and I want to play them with Vader.
You wait for my ramp Sentinel deck, where Vader's job is to play as many Sentinels as I can.
Oh.
Play Vader, play my Sentinel. Play Vader, play my Sentinel. Play Vader, play my Sentinel. It'll happen.
I'm sure it will.
But we were graced again.
Once more.
Our Christmas wish list is really coming in clutch, isn't it?
We put it out there, and FFG said, all right, we'll release those cards for you.
We'll give you this. Yeah. I think we'll start off with a card that we both saw. I think everyone in the community saw and went, whoa. And that is Moment of Peace.
Yeah.
Yoda's stew time.
Everybody thought this would be a card. I don't know anyone that called it at 1 cost.
Oh, we thought there would be a card that would be like a 3-cost event, give a shield to a unit. It is a 1-cost, just 1-cost, neutral vigilance. Give a unit a shield. That's all it says. The artwork is actually really good. It's Yoda having a little yumbo time. He's eating his old man stew.
Delicious.
But, good thing this says non-leader. It says non-leader, right, James? Oh my God. Good thing it says ground, right, James? Well, alright, it's hero locked, right, James? Oh, so it's just a 1-cost event that I can tap 1 and put a shield on my Iden to give it 2 shields, put a shield on my Thrawn, put a shield on my Boba leader, put a shield on my Luke leader, put a shield on my Vader leader, put a shield on my Devastator.
Not that one. No, I'm just kidding, you can.
Put a shield on my 7-cost Vader?
Putting a shield on Devastator is rough. Why would you do that?
Because it's a Sentinel with overwhelm.
Don't talk to me.
So yeah, paying 1 for Luke Skywalker's ability, but better. Seems good.
Seems good.
You do get to
Is good. Is good in a lot of decks.
You particularly though, you mentioned to me that this shines in a specific kind of deck. Mono blue villain.
Yeah. Mono blue villain is one of those massive underdogs that I've found that I have found to be, not I have found the deck, I have found it to be incredibly powerful. I did not. Back when it was Krennic, it was fantastic. Iden comes in, does it a bit differently, but is also incredible. Both of those leaders, mono blue, villain, are going hard. Charlton is so hard to remove.
He is this card's best friend.
And being able to just pay one, give a shield to him is nuts.
Pay one, give a shield to him. Next turn, use Vigilance. Put another shield on him.
It's crazy. The only thing that can deal with Charlton easily is Vanquish. People aren't even running Vanquish very much anymore. They're running maybe two of, and a lot of decks cutting Vanish.
I've never cut it. I think Vanquish is awesome.
But without Vanquish, you need to damage Charlton a little bit to deal with him a different way. Waylay works for a bit, but he's just coming back.
Waylay bounces Charlton, and then Charlton gets played again, and then I know a lot of people say, yeah, but you make them waste the turn, the resources. A lot of those blue decks that are doing stall don't care to waste their turn to play Charlton again. In most cases, they have more cards in hand because you've done that, and now they have a bigger Charlton than the initial turn that you bounced it.
Yeah, it's one of those strange situations where you almost don't want a turn one play.
Funnily enough, Bamboozle works really well against Charlton.
Yeah, you would tap him and take away all of his upgrades, which would be all of his +1/+1 counters.
No one runs Bamboozle.
If it becomes meta, there's your sideboard. Well, there's a sideboard card against him.
You can run the Ashton Kutcher artwork. Han Solo.
But yeah, the mono blue, it's not its only trick. Charlton isn't the be-all and end-all. It has a lot of tricks up its sleeve and is able to do quite a lot.
Double shielding your Dooku. I think this card works amazingly with just being able to shield leaders.
Yeah, like
oh my god.
I can definitely see Chewie coming in, getting hit for 5 damage and being like, awesome, now I'm a 7 fire.
Put a shield on him. Put a shield on him.
Yeah.
Pay Vigilance, put a shield on him. Running 6 cards, I can put a shield on your leader and then defeat your opponent's units while you do it. Like 3 of those with the Vigilances. I think that's what the devs are talking about when we say we're underestimating Chewie. Like, ramp that guy out.
Yeah, I can definitely see like mono blue Chewie coming in as we start to see all of those blue cards coming in and finishing off that deck. I think mono blue is something that is really underlooked because it was the worst kind of mono color. Even we said it was. Even we said when Vigilance came out, we were like, this is so underwhelming. And I really think that everyone underestimated it. And it is. I've played against mono blue a bunch now, and it's tough. It is not an easy game, especially when you consider that blue itself has really tapered off with its releases as they went on, because initially we got so much blue, and then it kind of tapered off, and now we're back at the point where blue is really ramping up again. Like, we actually have a lot of missing spots in the blue section if you look at your spreadsheets. And this card fills nicely. This card fills to a 4.5 out of 5 for me. I think for paying 1 for this to shield anything, including leaders, in a stall or mid-range deck is invaluable. This can swing the game by just going, pay 1, put a shield on this, and now I can swing into this thing and kill it, next turn swing into something else and kill it, or, that's awesome. And we're going to move on to the other cards that we've seen, but I just want to say one thing. We know there is a Vigilance upgrade coming as well, which Chewie is going to love. I think that is going to be really interesting where that takes mono blue decks. And we also have probably another double Vigilance something that we don't know yet, seeing as we're probably going to get 3 of each.
Yes. Next card is Echo-based Defender. This is a 3-cost command hero 4/3 Sentinel Rebel Trooper. That's pretty nice. That's an awesome stat line for a 3-cost playing a Battlefield Marine, following it up with this. This card's awesome. This card has an interesting break point where it will kill most of the early game things in this game. And if you don't kill it by trading into it, it's just going to hammer you. Yeah. Like this in a layer deck, turn 1 Battlefield Marine, turn 2 this. If you're not killing it, tap layer, 7 damage.
Yeah, this is... Oh, you like Cellblock guard, right? Oh, this is just better cell block
Better
guard.
cell block guard.
This is better cell block guard. It's a 4-3, not a 3-3. Yeah, it dies to the same things, but it also
kills more
things.
Nice Callus. You have to ambush him in and he dies. And you don't get the draw because this is not a unique unit.
Yeah. This is a card that is going to be sneaky good. It's this is a card that is going to be now I can't swing my Ezra anymore because he dies to the Sentinel that's there. I can't like swing my what's the other 3 for them? There's a couple of them.
There's plenty of them.
They're going around. But there's a lot of 3/4s that are very good, and there are a lot of 3/4s that you're happy to trade this with. And I think that's the key thing. This card is such a good trader and forces the trade with that Sentinel.
This card can kill regional governors really easily. This card can damage Boba Fett units really
C-3PO and R2-D2 are no longer safe because of this.
This. And then what are you going to do?
4 damage is a big break point. To have Sentinel on as well is just the icing on top of the cake for this card.
You
I
have
think
a double
it's just
Sentinel and Chewie.
2 Sentinels.
2 Sentinel. That's not how the game works. But I think this card's pretty awesome. I think there's a lot you can do with it. I think it's sweet. I give it a 4 out of 5 on the Spy Summoner.
Yeah.
Wish list. Christmas wish list.
Christmas wish list.
What did we ask for?
We wanted 7th Sister. What did we get?
We got 7th Sister.
We got 7th Sister.
Here she is.
Here she is. We were actually use a 5-cost red villainy with Inquisitor, Force, Imperial.
Yep.
Good
keywords. Someone's saying the best keywords in the game.
She is a 3/6, a 1/1.
Spicy.
With Saboteur, and when this unit deals damage to a base, you may deal 3 damage to a opponent's ground unit.
That's awesome.
It's very good. This is a card that. This is the first card with Saboteur where you don't have to make the choice to swing at base or swing into your opponent's units.
You just swing at base.
You can just do both.
Because you killed it.
Or you can 2 for 1. Oh, no, you can't 2 for 1 because you have to swing at base. You just swing at base.
I love how we immediately follow up Echo Base Defender. And we're like, yeah, Echo Base Defender is really good. It's a shame that there's a card that just kills it, swings at it, ignores it, Sentinel, pings it for 3.
Swings it into base because it doesn't care about its Sentinel and kills it.
Kills it. Nice card. It is.
Once again, this falls into that category.
Category.
We're Australian, don't worry.
Yeah. Blimey. Crikey!
A 5-cost that does not have any on-play value, which is really important, and it does take this down a step in how flippant you can be in playing it.
It's an interesting card.
It is a very interesting card. It's a very good card, but it's a card that does require some nuance on when to play. You need to know, you need to be able to play it at a time when you're going to be able to get value from it on the next turn. Or whether you know you're going to be able to untap it with Grand Inquisitor and swing with it that turn.
It's definitely a card I was talking to James about where you maximize the value of this card after your opponent's claimed, but that's difficult to do while maintaining 5 active resources. I also suggested that this card could be good in a ramp strategy by getting it out a turn earlier after resupplying. You could look at doing a lot more, and I actually think that that's pretty good. I think this card works really well with obvious choices of the Grand Inquisitor leader. Literally was built for it. Keep fighting, untaps it again. Aggression, untaps it again. I think this card has a nuanced, an interesting way that it can swing the game, and it really banks on if your opponent has the answer or not, which would be interesting to see if villain ever gets a card like Spark of Rebellion, where you can go, hey, Spark of Rebellion, look, remove that answer, and then 7th Sister out so that you know that she's going to be all good. It's really interesting to me, and it sets up an interesting precedent. And once again, this is where my theory of less common on plays, 5 or less, more common on plays, 6 or more.
Yeah, and I think this comes in. I'm personally hoping that there is a chance, we're not 100% sure, it could either be a neutral green event or a aggression 1-drop. I'm hoping that the 1-cost villain aggression unit that we haven't seen. Hopefully it is there. Is the droid and has some sort of connection with when you play an Inquisitor, you may ready it, or something crazy like that, where it's like a 1-cost 1/3 that really synergizes with those.
Even with Fifth Brother, that's wild.
I think that would be really cool and a really cool way to bring in, because both Fifth Brother and Seventh Sister don't have that on-play value. So having that card that kind of comes in and allows them to have some more value on play
could be interesting. Could be something along the lines of, when an Inquisitor enters play, you can destroy this unit, put a shield on it.
Yeah, or something like that. I think it'd be really interesting to have that be really, have that 1-drop be really synergistic into Inquisitors, not necessarily as a, I'm going to play this on turn 1-drop, but as a really cheap unit to kind of throw out there, and it's like, you can remove it, and you want to remove it because it's going to have value.
One part of the wish list gone, adds another part of the wish list in.
There's always a wish list. The wish list is never ending.
See, I struggle to rate this card because I don't know where this sits. What do you think? Where would you put it? Because for me, I think I struggle with this because to me it seems really good, but I don't know if it's just good in Grand Inquisitor. And I think that because you played Inquisitor so much, you're probably going to be the person who knows best. So, one out of 5, where do you think this sits?
I'm not doing a Spice Omega rating. It's a nice try, but it's never happening.
It's gonna happen once.
It's never gonna happen.
He's gonna do it on my deathbed. I'll film it for you. I'm not gonna do that. But
I think this is a very cool card. I think maybe we're gonna see Red Boba take advantage of this a little bit, where you can kind of play
you're controlling out the board and then getting this out.
Because you're able to untap a lot of resources. I think this is actually a really good card in the similar vein of...
That's actually a really good point. I didn't think about that this card functions similar to Bosk in that deck.
Yeah, and is able to
running 3 Bosk and 3 that in a removal heavy red deck.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
It's a really good value piece for that Boba deck to be able to get out on turn 5.
That's why
when you're pulling out your really hard to defeat leader, and you get that extra 3 resources. You tap 3 for an open fire, untap 1, play your leader out, swing, untap 2, tap fire for Seventh Sister.
You are speaking my language, and you made me up that card. I was gonna put it at a 2.5. I'm putting it at 3.5. I think she's good. I think that I look at her, I look at that card, and I know she's good. But I don't like that. But then there's also some other parts of me that are like, but this and this and this and this, and I just need to go. I know she's good. That caps off the spoilers, and it also means that we are liars because this episode is going to be the same length as normal.
Yeah, we said it was going to be a short episode, then we really dug into those spoilers.
We loved them. They were okay. In our defense,
we like talking. So we made a podcast.
Gosh. In our defense, I think the community can agree. These are some of the best spoilers we've ever gotten.
These are very good spoilers. But we're going to move on to some
Year
in review, and this is going to be really quick. It's not going to be a lot to talk about.
Star Wars Unlimited was announced.
It exists. We went, what? Star Wars Unlimited? And then we made a podcast about it, and now we're mildly obsessed.
I remember one day I was sitting in my apartment on my floor crying and just going, I wish I had a card game. I was like, I was sitting there.
We were definitely being like, there's a hole in my heart where a card game could be. But what card game could fill it?
This year was like our void year, kind of. Like last year and this year, where at the beginning of last year, we tested a couple of card games and we're just like, nothing is really vibing, and we stopped. And we'd had multiple conversations throughout that time where we were just hanging out, and one of us would go, remember card games? And one of us would be like, yeah, we just can't find one that fits our niche. So I was sitting at my house, crying, surrounded by my dead cards, wondering what went wrong. Power creep, you Dragon Ball. And then I got an emergency alert on my phone. I picked it up and it said, Star Wars Unlimited card game is out. And I went, what's this? And I opened. I was scrolling Facebook and I saw this and was like, surely not. Surely not.
We're back, baby.
And I immediately texted James and was like, please look upon this. And not but 2 weeks later, we were like, let's make a podcast.
This year's been fantastic, and I really want to shout out Fantasy Flight Games,
Yeah.
and we're not being
huge W.
paid by them or
We're
anything
not
like
being
that.
corporate shills this time.
The communication, the consistent live streams, the communication with us content creators and talking to other content creators, the same kind of communication that's happening with them is a step above anything I've ever seen before in a card game.
Yeah, I've never had a card game, none, 0 card games at all that have had this kind of communication, this kind of hype building, and let alone this kind of assurance. Because Fantasy Flight have had their hiccups in the past. And a lot of people I talked to were skeptical. I remember in the beginning of this year when I'd mentioned this game to people, and their reaction would be, "Oh, cool, but I've been burnt by Fantasy Flight before."
Yep.
And those same people now at the end of this year are going, "Just pre-ordered a couple of boxes."
Yeah, I think it's huge how much faith they've restored in a lot of people from when this was like looking at the community when this first was coming out, and there was a lot of and now we barely see it.
We have no reason to. We've had such good communication. We've such good confidence has been built surrounding this that it's incredible. And a big shout out to not only FFG but you guys, our community for Star Wars Unlimited. Although small but growing every day, is an awesome one to be part of.
Yeah,
I know Star Wars has a notorious for Star Wars fans. Star Wars fans hate Star Wars. But being a part of this community, I rarely see that. A lot of it is healthy discussion about what cards we like, what we want to see. And most of the time, 99.9% of the time, it's just everyone talking about what they like in Star Wars.
Yeah.
And just being thankful that we all finally have something to play again after Destiny, unfortunately, passed away.
But this confidence that we have in the game leads us to be able to talk about what's going to happen in the future next year. And
a couple of
obviously
things...
we know that the release of the game is coming next year. We're getting sets 2 and 3. We're going to be getting a...
That's wild. That's wild to me.
I can't believe it's not a store championship.
Yeah, that's true. With
store something.
Yeah,
store showdown.
I can't believe it's not butter. I think a few things to cover off in the early months. In the first 2 months, yes, that's right. In the next, more than likely, month and a half, we will see the remaining 60-something cards, 65 cards from Star Wars Unlimited. We will see all of them.
And we'll review every single one of them right here. Not right now.
That's actually not a joke. One of our goals we are going to be doing and breaking down color by color. We're going to be rating the cards. We're going to be reevaluating. I'm going to be giving fresh Spice-ometer ratings for all the cards with the context of the full release. So that's one of the things we'll be doing. Is we've seen a lot of tier lists starting to ramp up as the game's gone on, and the main reason we haven't done one is because James and I both agree that we're not going to do it until everything is out, because that way we can't give the most properly informed tier.
As soon as we've seen that Palpatine leader and that whatever that blue hero leader is,
Palpatine, baby.
You'll be seeing our tier list going up and what we think the best leaders are, and Boba Fett is D tier. I hate him. He's the worst leader. There's no way he'll be better.
His effect's too hard to get off. But that's only one of the things we're doing. So you can count us in for the tier list game. Spy Squadron tier list. We love them. We love tier lists.
Oh, we love tier lists.
But we just haven't done them because we don't have everything out yet. So you can expect tier lists from us for not only set 1, but set 2, set 3, not set 4, set 5, set 6, set 7.
Yeah, not set 4.
Not set 4. We will be doing set 4.
Oh, set 4 is it's a dip in quality. What can we say? Once we get to step 5, it's fine again.
Another thing that we'll be doing, a big transition, is we're not going to do it this week, but you will see it next week. Is in the new year in 2024, the year of Star Wars Unlimited on the Zodiac calendar. That's fact. That's fact.
It's true.
It's always been there.
It was with us this whole time.
It was looking right at us.
2024 wasn't the end of the world. It was just the start of the Star Wars calendar.
True. That's the Mayans thought it would happen earlier in 2012.
12 years later.
12 years later, here it is. But we'll be moving to best of 3 format, James.
Yeah, we'll be moving to best of 3 for our gameplay videos.
We'll be utilizing sideboards. we're using best of 3. And the main reason is a lot of other content creators have started using a best of 3. The main reason we didn't do best of 3 early on is because there really wasn't enough. Games kind of felt the same because we didn't have a lot of stuff. And now that we're getting at the point where decks are constructed, a meta is forming, which is really awesome, by the way. I love when metas form, and we'll get a bit into that in a second. We can now start to explore decks and show you what they operate in a best of 3. It gives us a chance to explore more play styles. You get to see more of us game, longer gameplay videos. I'm going to start advertising the gameplay more on our Facebook, on our Twitter, on the Discord. So keep your eyes out for that. We may even be touching on the streaming space, depending on how we go in that regard, or at least James will be.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be moving into the streaming space a little bit. There's going to be some Star Wars Unlimited content coming in that. I'm going to be doing a lot of, to start it off, deck techs, force table kind of building each, going through leaders and trying to like finding interesting play styles and interesting ways to play them.
That leads us into another type of thing we're going to do. We are going to do, in our color tier list, we're also going to talk about leader breakdowns and decks. So leaders that we think, like decks that we think will work well for those colors. For instance, we might do red, and we'll review each of the red leaders with each of the bases that we think work best for them and what kind of deck we'd be looking at. For instance, we could look at red, green Cassian, green, red, yellow Inquisitor, red, yellow Sabine, and then, don't worry about IG. And blue, red Vader.
But yeah, you're going to be seeing deck techs for specific decks as well. Decks that we're really focused on, the decks that we're really enjoying. We're going to have complete breakdowns of those decks, how they work, how they want to run, why we're running certain cards.
Have episodes on that.
And that kind of, we have those deck lists available on our gameplay, but if you want to get into why, we'll be linking into down. Like the actual breakdown.
It'll be like a full breakdown. It'll be how they work in matchups. It'll be really, really fun to talk about. A big thing as we start moving into tournament season, we're going to do meta breakdowns, meta analysis. We're going to talk about maybe our local environment and how our decks have gone. We're going to do tournament debriefings when larger tournaments go on. We're going to get to larger tournament debriefings and things like that. Some really interesting content to come. Yeah, we have some really interesting stuff to come with tournaments that we're going to be going to and playing, and the kind of content we're going to bring forward from that is going to be really interesting. We have a lot of plans, we have a lot of ideas, and we're starting to get those kind of rolling. Yeah. So let's start moving in the background.
Yeah, safe to say that the podcast is always going to be here, and the gameplay video is always going to be here. It's going to move into best of 3s, but those two are going to be coming out every single week consistently.
There will just be more goodies on the side. We might do the deck tech videos might be another series that runs along with this one. We might have tournament breakdowns as larger long form videos for like the big tournaments, where we might talk about those separate to the podcast, but then we're always going to have an episode. We're always going to do that stuff. So also we're going to be James and I are opening like pretty much all of our stuff on a YouTube stream.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to be streaming that on YouTube, and the VOD's going to be available immediately, as with most YouTube streams and how that works.
As that's done.
So on day of release, be prepared to watch us open as many packs as you can possibly. That's going to keep going. We're going to be getting boxes. We're going to be opening boxes fairly consistently. Obviously, it's something that's fantastic to have just in the background. I know a lot of people very much enjoy
I love watching
having like box openings and having them in the background while you're playing a game, or you're doing something, you're doing your homework, or doing your uni work, or something like that.
Paint your Warhammer.
I play Warhammer.
I play Warhammer.
So you're going to see a lot of that kind of content. Obviously, at the moment, it does seem like we only have 2 things, but we promise you, as this game releases and as this community grows, the more we can do, the more we will do.
The main reason we haven't is just because there's still not a lot. It's early days for Star Wars Unlimited, which means it's early days for Spy Squadron. We're only episode 20 babies, but as of like next week, you can expect an immediate ramp up. Longer gameplay videos. We're going to start talking about more in-depth stuff, and the more once all those cards are out, it's tier lists, talks, products openings. James and I are even talking about doing potential giveaways and things like that for the channel, just to support you guys, because we think it'd be really fun. I think it'd be really fun to do a giveaway. And we're
Absolutely.
going to be talking about all of that, and we're going to be including you. I'm going to be reaching out more for video requests. I'm going to start putting more polls out to our social media side of things to get an idea of what you guys want to see, because I love it. I love hearing from you guys. Every time I get a comment, it brightens my day. It's all good all the time here at the Spy Squadron. I'm so excited for next year. I'm so excited to just get our hands on the product. I said this to James today. We were in the car and we were driving home from the shops, and I said, 2 months from now, James, it'll be 20th of February in Australia. That's going to be, I think it's like a Tuesday, which means that same week Friday, that's our release. That's our pre-release. That's when we
Way to date the video.
That's when we can crack packs.
That's it.
That's when I'm going to cry, because it'd be the
Your
happiest day
human
of my
man
life.
tears.
At my wedding, in my wedding vows, I will say that this is second only to Star Wars Unlimited pre-release.
Set one.
Set one. Spark of Rebellion. I will say to my wife, I'll say, wife, insert wife name here. You are second only to Star Wars Unlimited Spark of Rebellion
I'm
pre-release.
sure that will go well.
Xander, you're invited. Tyler, you're invited. All the dev team is invited. I want to see you all at my wedding. But in all seriousness, I think that's what we're probably going to end, unless there's anything else you want to say.
No, that's it.
We're so excited. I literally can't contain myself. If I talk anymore, I'm probably going to explode. So we thank you so much. Go check out this week's videos. We hope you have we hope you had happy holidays. Far out. We hope you have a happy new year, and we literally cannot wait to
Welcome
see
to
you.
2024.
The year of Star Wars Unlimited.
Bye.
Bye.